Donald Trump just reignited a firestorm, threatening to fire Fed Chair Jerome Powell if he returns to the White House. But can a president really do that? And what would it mean for your money? Hey, I'm Robert, and welcome to The Alternative Investor. Today we're diving into a hot political and financial headline: Trump's renewed attacks on Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. From accusing Powell of playing politics to openly saying he could remove him, Trump's comments are raising serious questions about central bank independence and what it means for the markets, inflation, and your portfolio. In a recent public statement, former President Donald Trump made headlines by declaring that Powell's termination can't come fast enough. This comment wasn't subtle. It was a clear indication that Trump believes Fed Chair Jerome Powell is standing in the way of what he calls the right economic decisions. Trump went even further by claiming, "If I wanted to fire him, I would have fired him." This adds fuel to the long-standing tension between Trump and Powell, dating back to Trump's presidency, when he frequently blasted Powell for raising interest rates. Now, with the 2024 election cycle gaining momentum, Trump is bringing that battle back to center stage. Here's the legal reality. The president cannot simply fire the Federal Reserve Chair because he disagrees with monetary policy. While the president does appoint the Fed Chair, the Federal Reserve is structured as an independent central bank, created by Congress to operate separately from the executive branch. The Fed Chair serves a 4-year term and can only be removed for cause, meaning actual misconduct, legal violation, or incapacity. So far, there has been no legal precedent where a president successfully fired a Fed Chair for policy-related reasons. Even Powell himself has made it clear he intends to serve out his full term, which ends in May 2026, regardless of political pressure. Legal experts overwhelmingly agree that any attempt to remove him without cause would face serious constitutional challenges, and likely trigger a battle in the courts over separation of powers. This isn't just a political sideshow, it could have major economic consequences. When the market senses that the Fed is being influenced, or even threatened by political power, confidence in its independence collapses. That independence is a core pillar of the financial system because it reassures investors that interest rate decisions are based on data, not politics. If investors believe the Fed is pressured into cutting rates ahead of an election, they may start to fear runaway inflation, similar to what we saw in the 1970s. In response, bond yields could spike as investors demand higher returns to offset inflation risk, and the US dollar could lose value in global currency markets. Even more importantly, equities could experience serious volatility as uncertainty builds around future rate policy. In fact, Senator Elizabeth Warren warned that if Trump were to actually fire Powell, it could trigger a full-blown stock market crash, as investors flee from what they see as a compromised central bank. Trump's animosity toward Powell didn't start yesterday, it's been brewing for years. In 2018, Trump appointed Jerome Powell to lead the Federal Reserve, replacing Janet Yellen. But soon after, Trump began criticizing Powell publicly for raising interest rates. He blamed those rate hikes for slowing the stock market and weakening growth during his presidency. In 2019, Trump even floated the idea of demoting Powell or stripping him of his chair title, something never done before. While the Fed stood its ground, the incident marked a significant departure from the traditional hands-off relationship between the White House and the Fed. Now, Trump is once again pushing the envelope, sending a strong signal to voters and markets alike that he wants the Fed to be more politically responsive, especially when it comes to cutting rates. If you're a long-term investor, here's why this drama between Trump and Powell matters to you. First, we could see increased volatility in the bond market as traders price in potential disruptions to the Fed's independence. That means wild swings in interest rates, which can impact everything from mortgages to corporate borrowing. Second, inflation expectations may rise if investors believe that political pressure could lead the Fed to keep rates too low for too long. This could push up the cost of living and erode purchasing power. Third, safe haven assets like gold and Bitcoin could rally if confidence in the dollar and the Fed's credibility starts to fade. We've seen this happen before during times of political turmoil. And finally, if Trump wins in 2024 and makes a serious move to oust Powell, we could be looking at one of the biggest stress tests for the modern Federal Reserve since the 1970s. Whether you're invested in stocks, bonds, crypto, or just watching from the sidelines, this power struggle could shape the direction of markets for years to come. This clash between Trump and Powell isn't just about politics, it's about who controls the most powerful economic lever in the world: interest rates. And if that lever becomes politicized, it could send shockwaves through everything from inflation to your 401k. If this video helped you see the bigger picture, hit that like button, subscribe to The Alternative Investor, and let me know in the comments. Should a president be able to fire the Fed chair? I'm Robert, and I'll catch you in the next one.